What's up everybody, thanks for stopping by. This is going to be another World of Warcraft video. This time around we are going to talk about healing instead of damaging, and we're more specifically going to talk about the Mistweaver Monk. So first of all, Mistweaver is the healing specialization of the Monk class, if you don't know, and they use Intellect as their primary stat. Your secondary stats, the most important ones, are going to be Haste and Mastery. Third most important, Versatility. Fourth most important, Crit. Okay? So there's your stat priorities. Now let's jump into your specialization's bread and butter skills. Now, the first one that's most important is Renewing Mist. Now you're going to want to cast this one pretty much on cooldown and not let it cap. And what do you mean by cap? Right now you can look at this tooltip and you can see that there's a max of 2 charges. Now, with anything in Warcraft, for the most part, if there's charges, you don't want to cap them. Because if you cap it, meaning sitting at its maximum amount of charges, you're no longer gaining that resource. So you're effectively losing them, right? So if the cooldown on Renewing Mist is 9 seconds, which I think it is, in 18 seconds you've lost 2, if that makes sense. So say we cast this on my character right here, you can see we've used 1 charge and it's recharging now. So as long as we use that again before it charges, we haven't lost anything, right? So we've got 1, say we use actually 2, you can see that we're still waiting on a charge. Even though it's hit 1, we still haven't lost anything because it's still counting up. You're not losing anything until you hit 2 right here, and you no longer cast it. So that's just like a really quick overview on how charges work, and it's important to know that because Renewing Mist has 2, and you want to always have 1 or less in the queue. That way you know you're using them. And why do you want to use them? So say you're in a party, and you've got 5 of you, as is normal. So you're casting Renewing Mist on your tank, and probably a melee DPS because they tend to take more damage. Now, so that's 2 of them you have out. In the 20 seconds it takes for that to decay, you could actually cast it 2 more times. And if you're using some of the other empowering spells like Thunder Focus T, you could actually get 4 or 5 of these out at once, and they could all be floating around. Now, what's the point of getting as many of these out on cooldown as you can, you might wonder. So the reason for that is because a lot of these monk abilities play with each other in specific ways. So if you're looking at Renewing Mist, having 3 or 4 of these guys out at one time is it's a smart heal. So it's going to go out, and if you put it on someone and they are at full life, it's going to tick 1 time. It's going to realize that this person is at full life, and then it's going to jump to someone else within 20 yards who is hurt and needs the heal, and it's going to rest on them. So having a lot of these out means they're going to bounce around your party and they're going to heal people in a smart fashion. So you can't really lose by having a bunch of them out in a dungeon. As long as multiple people are taking damage, they're going to be utilized. So it's all utilized heals. They're fairly cheap, so they're 2,800 mana a pop. They last 20 seconds. Unless you empower them, then they last 30. So what do I mean by empower? I'll talk about that in a little bit, but just hang in there. We have to learn what the spells do at the base point before you can learn what their augmented versions are, okay? So we just learned what Renewing Mist is. So you know we want to cast it multiple times. We want to keep it at 1 or lower charges. It's a hot, and it bounces around in a smart fashion. So the next move is going to be Vivify. Now this is a slightly higher cost, and it's a Surge of Mist that heals your target. For my case, 6.695 thousand heal. Now, if you have no Renewing Mists cast, it is only going to heal your target for that amount. If you have Renewing Mists out, then it's going to also heal every person who has Renewing Mist for 4.933k. So basically, it's an AoE heal, but only if you're diligent about using your renewing mists and keeping them out. So the point is, by keeping many renewing mists out, you are always ready to AoE heal with Vivify, if that makes sense. Okay? And I hope it does. I don't want to be confusing, but I want to be thorough. So the next move that plays with those is called Soothing Mist. Now this is a channeled spell, and I'll show you right here. If you click on yourself, you can channel this on yourself, and it's just doing a very basic, X amount of healing over X amount of time, which is affected by haste. While you're channeling this, though, here is the change. Two of your other spells can be cast instantly if you are channeling this. So to put that into action here, so we'll channel Soothing Mist on ourselves. Now, the next two heals we have, like say that Vivify we talked about, that's normally a 1.4 second cast, but if I click Vivify, it's instant, and you can spam it. Now, the same goes for Enveloping Mist. That would normally be a 1.6 second cooldown. If Soothing Mist is on, it's instant. So use Soothing Mist as like a slingshot when you need instant cast other spells. So basically this is going to let you slingshot Enveloping Mist and Vivifies onto targets without having to wait for their cast time. So we already went over Vivify. Let's go over Enveloping Mist because it's another critical part to the build. Enveloping Mist is another hot, and it's significantly stronger. So like you can see, Renewing Mist is 10,000 HP over 20 seconds, while Enveloping Mist is 22,000 HP over 7 seconds. So it's an aggressive, fast healing hot heal over time, and it also magnifies healing by 40% for the target. So especially like your tank, you would basically put Renewing Mist on him, you would soothe him with Soothing Mist, and then when he needs extra healing, throw an Enveloping Mist onto him, and you can see these stacked together, and that's going to provide a very big bonus to his healing. So Enveloping Mist is basically a magnifier for your healing, and it's very strong and very important for healing with tanks. We already went over Vivify. Detox is basically your decurse. You can remove magic, poison, and disease, and use that just like every decurse for every healing class. We won't really go over too many of the DPS specs because that doesn't really matter for this build that much. If you're fist weaving or focusing on being a damaging healer monk, then maybe more important. But for right now, the video is going to be lengthy enough just going over the healing spells and that kind of stuff. So now that you know what these 4 spells are, your 4 main spells, we need to introduce your wild card, and it's called Thunder Focus Tea. Now, Thunder Focus Tea is a drink, and I'll just click it and show you. So he drinks it, you can see all this crackling lightning, so he's now empowered. Now the next 2 spells that you cast are going to be empowered by this tea, and they're going to have different effects based on what you click. So you can read right here in the tooltip. If I were to cast Enveloping Mist, which is the number 3 skill that I've got here, it's going to have a really big immediate heal in addition to a hefty heal over time, a hefty and aggressive heal over time, and that 40% healing increase. So this is something that you will use on your tank when he needs big heals. You're going to activate Thunder Focus Tea, you're going to soothe the tank, and then you're going to put Enveloping Mist on him once or twice, depending on how much damage he's taking. It's a very strong heal, and it will top people off very fast. So if you use Thunder Focus Tea, then use it on Renewing Mist, it's going to add 10 seconds to the duration of the hot. So what this is important for is because when you are a Mistweaver, you want to have out as many Renewing Mists as you can. So adding 2 renews where they last for 30 seconds instead of lasting for 20 seconds allows you to get more out and blanket your raid or your party with more heals. So for the most part, I use Thunder Focus Tea more or less on cooldown with Renewing Mist to keep out as many Renewing Mists as possible. And then you can also use it as like a kind of a pocket heal for your tank if he's hurting really bad. Now, the other thing it can be used for is Vivify. If you use this and then cast Vivify, it's going to cost no mana. Now, it's not a huge cost on Vivify. It's 3.5k mana, so you could use that 2 times, and instead of spending 7,000 mana, you would spend none. So if you're really hurting for mana and your group needs AoE heals, pop Thunder Focus Tea, use Vivify with all those Renewing Mists out on your DPS, and you can really heal people up pretty quickly and efficiently without having to spend too much mana. So that's kind of in a nutshell how it augments things, and we're not going to go over it too much, but let's just touch really quick on Fist Weaving. Now, Fist Weaving utilizes Rising Mist, which is a talent, to basically make your Rising Sun Kick do a small heal, and it also increases the duration of your HOTS by 2 seconds. So there's a way that you can be a pretty combat efficient monk and also heal. Now, you can use Thunder Focus Tea with Rising Sun Kick to reduce its cooldown so that it only has a 2-second cooldown, and you could use it twice. So the efficiency there would be you could get 2 or 3 Rising Sun Kicks off in rapid succession over like 5 seconds versus like 40 seconds, you know? So if you want to use the Fist Weaving build and you're prone to that, you know, you could use the Thunder Focus Tea to get some extra Rising Sun Kicks. The next one we're going to talk about is Essence Font. Now, Essence Font is a little AoE heal, and it's pretty expensive, okay, but it's really good too. So it's going to be 7,200 mana, and it's channeled, and it's got a 12-second cooldown. It basically hurls little bolts up in the air, and I'll show you. You can't really see too much with just me here, but it's going to heal 6 people within 30 yards every 1 second for 2.7 seconds. Each bolt has a heal on impact and an additional hot, small hot, for like 1,000 heal over 8 seconds. Now, Gust of Mist heals affected targets twice. So if you use Essence Font on yourself, target yourself, you're going to get a Gust of Mist twice. Now, if that makes any sense to you, say you need to heal up your tank. Okay, there's Gust of Mist right here. It's effective on Renewing Mist, Enveloping Mist, and Vivify. So, say that your tank is taking big damage, you've just cast an Essence Font. While Essence Font is on him, you could use a lot of other heals and get a double proc of Gust of Mist. So that's a really powerful thing to keep in mind. So not only does it heal, it also double procs your Gust of Mist, and it's castable while moving, so you can use it while you're running around and healing people. It's mostly usable, I've found, in light to moderate AoE, where you've got a chance to basically hit 5 or 6 people and heal all of them, and then also benefit from the little hot that it leaves nearby. Life Cocoon is basically your tank saving skill. It's pretty cheap, 2.4k mana. It basically puts a shield on them, and it's a little bit unique because not only is it a 55k absorption, it also increases all healing over time received by the person who is enveloped in the cocoon by 50%. So you can see why that would be really important for a tank, because if you put a tank in a life cocoon and stack him with heal over times, he'll go up really quickly. It's a very strong heal. So it's like a good oh shit spell, like your tank's about to die. The 55k mitigates his chance of dying and then gives you time to heal them up over with your pots. Revival is a 3-minute long cooldown, um, moderate costing AoE, heals all raid party members within 40 yards for 14k. So it's a fairly hefty heal, and it's a fairly AoE strong heal. But one of its bigger benefits is too, it also clears them of harmful magic, poison, and disease effects. So use this strategically based on what dungeon you're playing or what raid you're playing, where people might be affected by magic, poison, or disease that they would benefit from losing. So also use it as an oh shit heal, like AoE heal, if you need to, but keep in mind there's some benefit to the clear that it provides as well. Invoke Chi-Ji, the Red Crane. This basically just sends a little minion, your little Chi-Ji effigy, and he runs around and heals people with one move that he has called Crane Heal, it's a fairly strong heal for an AI heal, and it's 3.2k. So he just runs around bomb healing people, which is a really good spell to use when perhaps like AoE is getting out of control. So now that we understand and we've went over the spec skills, you've got a general idea of how this all works. Let's talk about the talents. So Mist Wrap further buffs Enveloping Mist. Now Enveloping Mist, you remember we talked about, it's our very aggressive hot. So it gives that another 1 second duration and increases its healing by 10%. So I find that to be very strong and very useful in dungeons because you're healing a tank a lot and you're healing a lot of other people a lot with Enveloping Mist. If you find that you don't use Enveloping Mist somehow, I would say use Chi Burst and just use it on cooldown and hit as many people with it as you can, and it'd probably be worth taking. For your level 30 talents, take either Chi Torpedo or Tiger's Lust. Now this is going to depend upon two things. Number one, if you're only worried about really your own movement, I would say take Chi Torpedo because you can really cover a lot of distance with this thing. And when you use two of them, you get like 9 seconds of 60% movement speed buff. So it's really strong. Tiger's Lust can be cast on other people though, and at the cost of a 30-second cooldown. So it increases by 70% for 6 seconds and removes roots and snares. So if you only need to take care of yourself, I would take Chi Torpedo. If you need to assist other people and give other people some movement buff, take Tiger's Lust and you can be a benefit to them. For level 45, I would take Life Cycles personally, and what this does is it adds some more interplay between Enveloping Mist and Vivify. So if you cast Enveloping Mist, the next Vivify you cast will be 25% less. If you cast Vivify, the next Enveloping Mist you cast is going to be 25% less cost. So there's a lot of mana saving there by oscillating between the two. You figure Vivify is a 3,500 mana cost. So let me just pop open my calculator here because I'm dumb. So 3,500 times 0.25. So that saves you 875 mana every time you do it, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it adds up. And a lot of times in fights and stuff, it's all about longevity. It's about using stuff the right way, and that can be a pretty good saver. If you're fist weaving, use Spirit of the Crane. It basically turns your blackout kick into a battery. So every time you use your blackout kick, it restores 0.65% mana. So it makes your spec really efficient for mana. For level 60, I would personally say take Ring of Peace. Ring of Peace is a castable ring that has a really far reach, where when you cast it, it prevents enemies from going in here. So if one of your DPS is getting butt humped by a bunch of mobs or something, you can throw that out and knock enemies off of them and save their life. It's really strong. If you're doing Mythic Plus and you need a lot of interrupts in the form of like leg sweeps, you might benefit from Tigertail Sweep, and what that does is it reduces the cooldown on leg sweep and adds another 6 feet to its range, like its radius. So there's some that could be really strong too if you need a lot of stuns and you want to hit a wider swath of ads. For level 75, I would take either Diffuse Magic or Dampen Harm. Diffuse Magic take if you're facing predominantly magic damage, Dampen Harm for physical. I generally take Dampen Harm. For level 90, you could use any of these. If you're fist weaving, I would not say to use Refreshing Jade Wind because you're fairly global cooldown locked. So finding time to weasel that in effectively is hard to do. So personally, I would say use either Chi-Ji for the quick, easy, large heal on cooldown for AoE type heal where he bounces around and heals people, or if you're tank sitting a little bit more and you're like in a kind of a static environment where you can cast this and get a lot of benefit, the Jade Serpent statue basically gives you a second Soothing Mist to channel on your target. So as a tank, that can be very beneficial. If you're sitting on a tank, having that statue with the secondary Soothing Mist channel can be very strong. So use it situationally. I usually take Chi-Ji, but I fully intend to mess with the statue more. For level 100, all three are viable. Rising Mist is going to be for the fist weaving kind of build. It's actually essential to the build. So if you decide you want to try fist weaving, you're locked into taking Rising Mist. And what this does is it makes your Rising Sun Kick heal allies that have a hot on them. So from Renewing Mist, Enveloping Mist, or Essence Font by 1,000, and then it increases those effects, or extends rather, by 2 seconds. Focused Thunder basically makes your Thunder Focus T have 2 charges instead of 1. Personally, that's the one I favor. I really like it a lot. It adds some dynamic gameplay to your rotation and lets you get out a lot of extra Renewing Mists, which I find to be really valuable in dungeons. Upwelling is also viable. If you find that you don't use Essence Font a lot, basically what this does is for every 6 seconds Essence Font spends off cooldown, your next Essence Font may be channeled for 1 additional second. So it's rewarding you for not casting Essence Fonts all the time by empowering it for the whole time that you're not using it. So if you can go for a long time without using your Essence Font, you can basically jack it up and make it stronger, and then the duration of the heal over time is increased by 4 seconds. So it basically powers this up. So it's also a good pick. I like that too. I actually want to work with this a little bit more and practice a little more with Upwelling and see how it works. But right now, I'm taking Thunder Focus T. Oh, I should go over the PvP stuff too. I usually take Adaptation, which is like it's like a passive form of the Gladiator's Medallion, where any loss of control effect for more than 5 seconds is automatically, removed. I like that. I like not having to think about that. The next one I take is Surging Mist, and that actually adds another heal to your toolkit in the open world and in PvP. It's a very strong, low-cost heal called Surging Mist, and what's cool about this is every time you use Surging Mist consecutively, it gets 50% stronger for 6 seconds. So you can use it up to 2 times for 100% increase, so it can be pretty strong and pretty spammable. So it's pretty sweet. Healing Sphere just makes a healing sphere that you can place at a location. If enemies or allies walk through it, it consumes it and heals them for a fair amount, and then also dispels harmful periodic magic effects. Refreshing Breeze increases the healing of Vivify by 20%, and casting Vivify refreshes the duration of Essence Font on the target it heals. So if you're in a PvP situation and you've got a lot of Renewing Mists out, on enemies and you're vivifying a fair amount of people, it increases how much that heals, and then it also, if you time an essence font before that, you can actually extend essence font's duration on targets. So that's pretty strong too. And then war mode, enabled or disabled, whatever you want. Personally, I like it enabled. So that's all the talking we're going to do. We're going to pop in here and we're going to give it a combat demonstration. So we're just going to do healer gold. First of all, Thunder Focus T. Auto, he's going to be your tank. So I would use that on him. And then I would use it also on your melee DPS, because they tend to get hurt the most. Once he starts taking damage, cast Soothing Mist. You can also use Soothing Mist on anyone else who happens to take damage. Don't let your Renewing Mists cap, so keep using those. And as you can see, we're not even losing mana yet, and we're healing almost 4k. So now that we've got a fair amount of AoE, let's use that Essence Font, get some healing out. Cast Enveloping Mist on him for that aggressive hot. Use your Detox to get rid of those debuffs. Use your Enveloping Mist as a big, strong heal. So we let that kind of hit us there. Renewing Mist. Keep decursing.
Illusionary tunnelers, Speedy and I have faced these foes before. Beware. They may burrow into the ground and then suddenly pop up under a new target and jump.
So you can see that it's a lot of heals over time. Basically, you want to empower pretty much your Renewing Mists most of the time. Channel only when you need to. You know, don't just cast because you can. We've got a long ways to go till we're at level 10, so we need to conserve. We need to make sure we're not capping our Renewing Mists. Make sure that you're using your channeled Soothing Mist kind of sparingly. When he's taking a lot of damage, add that Enveloping Mist in. And that's a very aggressive hot, like I've said a million times. So we're going to let him get low. Now see how that cocoon works. Really easy to keep him up with the cocoon. So we're going to use Chi-Ji now. We let our friends get pretty low here. When he's out, let him do the heavy lifting. You know, resist the urge to heal everything in the world while he's out. Let him do his work, you know.
Illusionary conquerors. When they become enraged, they strike.
Use that as a chance to heal or kind of get your mana battery up a little bit. So he's taking some pretty good damage there. Keep that enveloping mist going. So we're not doing too bad, right? So far. Keep using that Thunder Focus T and using it for those extended renewing mists, or if he needs it, those big chunky enveloping mists are great for healing too. So we're at 56% mana. We should be just fine. We haven't even really needed Vivify yet, but we're going to test it out. So we're going to Soothe, use Vivify. He's starting to get hurt a little bit bad, so use those big, beefy, enveloping mists. You can see all the little hots still hanging out from Essence Font. So we're on just about to hit wave 8. And we still got half mana, so we're doing fine. Keep drinking, keep empowering. Keep using Soothing Mist as a little bit of a help. I know, I hope it's not annoying that I'm calling out all the spells, but it's kind of hard sometimes to see what someone's doing when they're just click-clacking away on a keyboard, so I hope this helps. Keep the renews up. See, we got 4 of them out right now. They're a pretty high amount of our healing, so Soothing Mist you can see is our highest, Renewing Mist is second, Essence Font is third. Don't be afraid to not cast and just let your mana build. You know, if you can go 8 or 10 seconds without casting, you can gain 5 or 6% mana, which is really, really helpful. If you're not sure how much damage your tank's about to take, use one of the Empowered Renewing Mists, and then save one Essence Font for him. Or I'm sorry, Enveloping Mist. So here's a chance where we had to use that Vivify. So we've got all of our major cooldowns left. Chi-Ji, Revival, Cocoon, everything. So we should be pretty much golden. Here we are. Here's the last one. He should start getting jacked up pretty good soon.
I am a wall of iron, but I cannot hold much longer.
I'm going to throw Chi-Ji out just for shits and giggles. Don't forget to decurse anything that you can. So here's like the burn phase right here. They just warped. You can see they're trying to push him. He's taking some big damage. They're trying to get him down. You can use Revival, you know, as a mana saving. tool at this point because we've just about got it beat. There you go. So at this point, you know, we could do the endless waves and pretty much probably be okay. You can drink a little bit in between and get yourself a title. So that's pretty much it. If you can pass the Proving Grounds Gold, then you're probably alright to do normals and heroics and maybe even mythics. So I hope this was helpful. Another thing I would say, make sure you've got a lot of water on you, especially if you're doing mythics. It's easy to in between big trash pulls, so carry some water. If you want some good food, there's some haste food here called swamp fish and chips, and that's a decent little haste food for you. So I hope this helps. If you guys have any questions or wonder anything, if I left anything out or said something that's wrong, let me know. You know, I'm glad to admit if something's wrong, if it means I can learn something. So feel free to get at me, and I hope this video has helped you out. So have a good one, and I will see you next time.